TNA No Surrender just went off. If you missed the pay-per-view, don't worry, folks. We definitely got you caught up over here. Definitely was a pay-per-view that had a lot of twists and it had a lot of turns. This definitely was, without a doubt, one of the most unpredictable pay-per-views that TNA Dixie Carter has put out this calendar year. It's the RCWR post show. We're going to get you guys covered, and we got a lot of fan reactions. I definitely want to see our switchboards lit up when we get ready to open up the wrestling fan line to get you all's reactions in just a little bit, folks. It's the RCWR post show, and it begins right now.
Live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., this is the RCWR Show with your host, Lee Sanders.
Coming at you live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., this is the RCWR Post Show. I'm, of course, as always, the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders. Thank you guys for checking out tonight's live episode on September 9th, 2012, just 1 minute after the 11 o'clock hour. Man, TNA, Dixie Carter, thank you guys so much. Definitely hats off to you guys. You all delivered a pretty solid No Surrender pay-per-view. Folks, if you were not able to check out tonight's pay-per-view, definitely, when you get a free chance, you definitely want to come up out of those pockets. Hey, if payday is not going to be coming for you until this Friday, totally understandable. Definitely you want to order this pay-per-view. Check it out when it comes out on DVD. Definitely another solid pay-per-view. I'm just, amazed at a lot of the stuff that had happened. And we had one guy that had hit us up on Twitter right before we had went off the air, as we thought that based on how the Bound for Glory series was going to be looking there for that main event, we were under the impression that maybe perhaps it was time. It was this guy's time. We don't want to put a spoiler out there right now. We definitely want to just tackle it match by match as it happens. And the guy pretty much had tried to take a little jab at us. And we told him, we said, hey, you know what? We might have got that wrong, but you know what? It's not going to be the first time we get something wrong. It's not going to be the last. We own up. I think we are one of those type of shows where we give our match predictions. If we're off, guess what? We don't really care. We like when we're wrong because that lets us know that the bookers, they are sitting up and they're doing their damnedest to try to throw those curveballs out there. And if you can't really appreciate a good curveball or two being thrown at you, then quite honestly, you're going to always keep dealing with a boring pay-per-view. Tonight, definitely a lot of twists and turns for tonight's pay-per-view. Thank those of you that's checking out tonight's show right now live on blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR Show. We got a live active chat room that's open up right now. Feel free to jump on in there. We got to give a shout-out to our boy Adrian11 UK, who is joining our chat room right now from the UK area. That shows you dedication right there. Welcome to the chat room, my friend. No, thank you. Thank you for staying up with us and covering, checking out the post show. We appreciate it. Thank those of you that had stayed up after the pay-per-view that's checking out tonight's post show right now. You know, me, Zed, we were actually interacting with a lot of people on Twitter at Infinity One Prod during tonight's pay-per-view, and we got a head start over everybody. We started interacting with everybody actually throughout the weekend, but we really started pushing it like an hour before the pay-per-view. And we were interacting with people from the UK. We were interacting with people from Ireland. I know one of our friends, we got a lot of friends and listeners from the Ireland area. So shout out to you guys from Ireland, as I actually have befriended one guy from Ireland who sat up and said that unfortunately the first day of college for him was tomorrow, and that basically by the time the No Surrender pay-per-view went off the air, it was going to be like about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. That shows you some dedication right there for people that were checking out tonight's pay-per-view. Definitely when we get ready to open up the phone lines, we want to hear you guys' reactions. Shout out to Don from the New York area in the chat room as well. When we open up the phone lines later on in the show, if you happen to be going to work early in the morning or you got school, you're starting to feel a little sleepy, do us a favor. Hit us up with a tweet over at Infinity One Prod, and then we'll try to go on here. We'll try to see if we can maybe squeeze your call in there in between. That's a special shout-out for those of you that are feeling the Sandman coming to get you. We'll definitely try to look out for you. But if you can hang in there, we'll try to make sure that we open up the phone lines at the 40-minute mark, okay? So let's go on ahead, and on that note, let's jump right into it. Of course, aside from Twitter, you can always interact with us on Facebook as well. Take the time out, like our page, follow us, befriend us. Really nice page. We always give you guys the 411 wrestling-related news, music news, the works. Check it out, Infinity One Productions. All right, so great way to put a book into the weekend. We got some pretty good football. I must say, from the nation's capital over here, I definitely got to show some love to the D.C. natives, Washington Redskins, yeah, even though I don't really particularly care too much for them, as I pretty much go with the other teams. I must admit, Washington Redskins, they did pretty good today. I like this Robert Griffin III or RGB3, whatever the heck his name is. Sounds like a Star Wars name when I hear it. He looked pretty impressive today. I'll definitely give him his props right there. But what a great way to put it. Bookend to week 1 of NFL. We got another solid pay-per-view from TNA No Surrender. Definitely was a very strong pay-per-view, no doubt. Let's go on ahead for those of you that were unfortunately not able to check this out, as there were quite a few bit of you that were not able to check out tonight's show. I know one of our followers, they said that they were out with their friends. They unfortunately didn't order it. They weren't able to TiVo it. We'll keep cool, babies. That's why we got you covered over here on the RCWR Post Show. So let's jump right into it. So, as we all know, this was the final pit stop for the Bound for Glory series, as we had 2 semifinal matches that were going to take place leading up into the final Bound for Glory match to determine who will be the new number 1 contender to face the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, Austin Aries, in Phoenix, Arizona, at the Sunday, October 14th Bound for Glory pay-per-view. We had Jeff Hardy taking on Samoa Joe. We had Bully Ray taking on the Cowboy, James Storm. Definitely a lot at stake right here. 4 guys that were trying to do everything they could to dig down deep. And the way this pay-per-view would kick off, we get our first Bound for Glory semifinals match, as the Enigma one, Jeff Hardy, took on the Samoan Machine, Samoa Joe. Keep in mind, these guys had just faced one another just 72 hours ago on an episode of Impact Wrestling Live, where Jeff Hardy pulled a CM Punk. He won with an Anaconda Vice, so he had a one-up over Samoa Joe. So you know, going into this contest, Samoa Joe is trying to do his damnedest to be more focused, more hungrier than ever, and do his best to advance in this Bound for Glory series. It is either win or go home time tonight. And we had a pretty solid matchup between these 2 guys. Definitely, if you were a Samoa Joe fan, you were definitely in shock, because Jeff Hardy would be the one to pick up another win over Samoa Joe. This match was just really all about intensity right here. I love the fact that here we had another pay-per-view here from TNA, as they've slowly been beginning that trend to try to have their pay-per-views really open up with a wrestling match. And I definitely was not disappointed watching these two guys get it on. I didn't feel as though I was going to be invested into this match, seeing as how I just saw them Thursday night. But they really stepped their game up on this night. I definitely was very pleased with what I had saw right here. Another fantastic classic matchup between these two guys. As from there, Jeremy Borash greets us from the backstage area where he's with the Cowboy, James Storm, as he talks about James Storm's long journey in this Bound for Glory series, and just basically points out how James Storm has been doing everything possible. And James Storm reiterated this as well, how he just has been digging down deep, crawling, growling, just fighting his way back up to the top of that mountain known as the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. And that tonight, it's all about him. Tonight, it is his time. And he sends a loud message to both men, sends a loud message to Bully Ray, Jeff Hardy. Sorry about your damn luck. But at the same time here, folks, he also gave Jeff Hardy a lot of praise. He said, hey, Jeff Hardy, I saw what you did out there earlier tonight. I definitely would love to face you. I think that you are a great wrestler. We definitely are going to have a great match. But then he turns his attention to Bully Ray and brings to the fact why he chose to go against Bully Ray tonight. And basically, he recalled how last year it was Bully Ray that had ended James Storm's dream of going into the Bound for Glory series, and that basically he owed him one. So tonight, this was all about correcting a wrong. As from there, immediately after that, we got our next Bound for Glory semifinal match as Bully Ray took on the Cowboy, James Storm. This was definitely another match that I was really invested into. I was paying very close attention to this one. If you listened to our Call That Match special over the weekend, you guys knew I was definitely on the fence when it came to calling this match. And I was just still, even though I made my pick after debating it for about 15 minutes, I was looking at this match really right before the bell even rung, and I'm saying to myself, I just don't know. I still don't know who could get this, because this could really go either way. And the funny thing I loved about this match, aside from the critical key points towards the end of the match, I loved the beginning, how we had Bully Ray and James Storm. They're just looking at one another. And we got Bully Ray. He's talking a good hot pile of trash. James Storm, he spits in his face, and we see Bully Ray just kind of act girly-like, hey, you just spit me in the face. Hey, ref, he spit me in the face, and I'm saying to myself, Bully Ray, you've been known to spit in your opponent's faces aside from spitting gum or your spit in the air and catching it in your mouth. It's like, come on, you can dish it out, but you can't take it? Come on, man. And it was just a little funny moment right there, but once these two guys finally got all of those little shenanigans out of the way and it was time to start wrestling, these two guys, they definitely brought it on. I was definitely enjoying this contest right here. Let's pick it up at the critical moment in this match, because there would be two key points here. Critical moment would come in the contest where we saw referee Earl Hebner get taken out of the picture by James Storm, who came off the ropes, and he pretty much accidentally bumped into him. From there, we see another referee come out, and he's trying to call the match, but soon we see him get taken out of the picture as well. Now, James Storm, somewhere amongst all of this craziness that's going on in this ring, he's able to connect with that last call super kick. Now, he tries to pin Bully Ray, but he's got no referees, remember? So, no count. Fans are counting. We see James Storm. He gets up. He's trying to revive the ref. And guess who comes out of nowhere, folks? Somebody that we have forgotten about for quite a long time. We've said his name a few times here. And it's one of those things that I was kind of looking back as soon as I saw this guy in the ring, and I said, man, I missed a connected dot right here. That's right. It would be the one, the only, the it factor of professional wrestling, Robert Roode, coming to the ring, beer bottle in hand, just like what he did to James Storm back in November of 2011 to become the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Robert Roode struck again as he saw James Storm turn around, cracked him over the head with that beer bottle. James Storm is out cold. That's it. He is out. We see Robert Roode then proceed to grab a lifeless Bully Ray, put him over Robert Roode, and quickly leave out the ring to not be noticed by the referee as the ref counted 1, 2, 3. Bully Ray advances. I know some of you are probably hearing this that have not seen the pay-per-view at this point, and you're probably saying to yourself, Bully Ray advanced, so that means we're going to have Jeff Hardy take on Bully Ray. Could tonight possibly be the night for Bully Ray? Who knows? Backstage segment we go now, where we see Jeremy Borash is with the lovely TNA Knockouts champion, Miss Tessmacher, who gives us the backstory of her relationship with Tara and how she feels she needs to beat her tonight to prove that she's deserving of being the TNA Knockouts champion. Ms. Tessmacher also feels that she needs to prove that she can beat her former mentor, as everything is just going to be out there on the line tonight as their match was next. I was paying very close attention to this match, and there was definitely one thing that spoke large volumes to me. Those of you that saw the pay-per-view and you were paying attention to this match, I definitely think you all can agree. What the hell was up with the crowd? I mean, sometimes the crowd was there, and then other times it would be so quiet, it seemed as if you were watching a tennis match. And for this Knockouts match, first off, these two girls, especially Tara, in-ring veteran, these two girls, they really, really tried to do their damnedest to put on a show. And it really showed. But the crowd just was not into it. And it was just one of those things that I just thought was really alarming. And for those of you that listen to our WWE show that we do Tuesday nights, you know how we talk about the Divas division over there. And we all are in agreement that the Knockouts division, it's definitely on point. It's a lot more entertaining to watch than WWE. But I was paying very close attention to this match, and I'm just noticing the crowd off the break, and I'm saying to myself, am I watching a Divas match? Because the crowd is just not invested into it. And it was so much of a distraction for me. I actually had to mute what I was hearing during this contest because Taz and Mike Tenay's commentating, I was trying to figure out what they were saying during the match, but it just seemed like they really were talking about some other stuff. So I just muted it, and I'm just watching them, and they really had a great match right here. In the end, though, we would see Miss Tessmacher defeat Tara, retain her Knockouts championship. Post-match, we saw Tara, a frustrated Tara, who couldn't believe that she had got beat by her student, reluctantly shook her hand and proceeded to leave the ring. I kind of like that little bit of hesitation that Tara had right there with not really wanting to shake Tessmacher's hand. Maybe that could be a little bit of those early planted seeds, if you will, of possibly seeing Tara go heel. It would be kind of nice to maybe see another knockout go heel, and if anybody could pull it off pretty damn good, it definitely would be Tara. As from there, folks, we switch it up now, and we go to another backstage segment where TNA General Manager Hulk Hogan has gotten a hold of Robert Roode as security. They have him in handcuffs, and Hulk Hogan is just furious with what Robert Roode had did, and he tells him, look, you are going to be lucky if James Storm and if we don't try to file charges on you. You're just lucky. You better pray I'm able to talk James Storm down. Officers, get this piece of trash out of here. And right before the security cops, whatever they were, could get Robert Roode out of there, we see James Storm. He attacks Roode from behind, and the two of them, they just start going at it. We see Hulk Hogan. He tells the officers to get control of the situation and have both of them leave the arena, as he has both of them take separate exits. Definitely was the last time, unfortunately, that we had saw Robert Roode and James Storm as well. I just thought I'd throw that out there. I didn't want to leave you guys with a little tease right there. No, that was it for James Storm. Now, from there, folks, we saw a video package of what all had went down with Austin Aries and the Aces and Eights, or as I like to say, those damn Aces and Eights, as it's now time for our fourth match, which was Austin Aries taking on a random member of Aces and Eights. We see the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. He gets in the ring. He is in street clothes, and he pretty much tells the Impact fans that tonight he's not coming out wearing his ring attire, pushing his fancy cape, that he's not coming out wearing a nice suit. He doesn't have the championship belt with him because tonight it's not about all that. It's not about all that BS. And he actually got away saying the whole word. Definitely was a little bit of a shocker right there. I could definitely appreciate that, though, because it kind of had me having flashbacks to how ECW was when it was on pay-per-view back in the day, and they were just getting away saying all that good stuff. I love hearing Austin Aries say that, as he pretty much sat up and said that tonight it's all about a fight, and as per agreement on this past Thursday night's Impact for coughing up Mikey, who was one of Aces and Eights grip guys, Austin Aries gets to face one of the members tonight. Well, as Taz and Mike Tenay would point out, the big guy, known as the arm breaker guy, who broke Austin Aries' arm a couple of weeks back, he comes down to the ring just going at his own pace. He tries to get into the ring a few times. Austin Aries, he's kicking at the ropes. He's not letting him get in there for a bit. But then finally we see Austin Aries. He backs off. He gives him the chance to get in there. And from there, the fight was just on. Whoever this big guy was, he was just really dominating Austin Aries throughout this whole bout, as no referee was in this. No referee was needed because this wasn't a match. This was just a straight-up brawl. Pretty much you win when your opponent is just laying there and that's it. They're not moving anymore. So this was just a straight-up fight. And key point, we saw this arm breaker guy. He tried to get Austin Aries in a power bomb type of move, but Austin Aries, where he got it from, I'm not really sure. Maybe it was in his fifth pocket in his jeans there. I don't know, but he pulled out a bag of flour or what have you, poured it into this guy's face, and he was able to get out of that hold and then proceed to continue fighting him on. He would then try to go for a high-risk maneuver from the top ropes, but big man, he was able to recuperate. And the fight just kept going like that, back and forth. But eventually Austin Aries, he was able to make the comeback. And it got to the point where Austin Aries had this guy right where he wanted him. And it looked as if we were finally going to start seeing some of these guys be unmatched. Well, that was a nice tease, as reality would soon set in, as other Aces and Eights members, they quickly came down to the ring, and Austin Aries, he was trying his best to fight all of them off from coming into the ring, as that arm breaker guy, he was able to get out, and then a united TNA locker room pops up. They come to the aid of Austin Aries, and all hell was just breaking loose, just inside the ring, outside the ring. We see Hulk Hogan come on down, and he takes control of the situation right here. And this is where it got pretty funny right here, as Hulk Hogan, he gets a microphone, and he, oh my God, I'm laughing just thinking about this because this is how funny it was here. We see Hulk Hogan, he comes down there, and he says, look, okay, this place, it's going to be on lockdown. I want TNA officials in the back. I want you guys to get in contact with the local authorities. I want you guys to lock this whole arena down. That's it. We need to take control of this before aces and eights, they cause utter mischief. You know, call the cops, lock everything down. And as soon as this happened, I'm looking at this, and I'm saying to myself, wait a minute here. Isn't that against the law to sit up with a jam-packed arena full of people and you're locking them inside? What happens if a fire breaks out or there's some type of an emergency and everybody needs to escape and they aren't able to escape because guess what? Everything's on freaking lockdown and they got to wait patiently for the whoever's at the door to unlock it, right? So I'm saying to myself, wait a minute here. Something doesn't quite sound right. And I'm one of those type of guys. I didn't overanalyze this. As soon as I saw this piece of segment happen, it just clicked in my head like that, and I actually did a little research for you guys. That's right. Black Avenger always comes prepared. I hooked you guys up. This is exactly what I did. I went online, and I looked up fire safety and evacuation planning, lockdown plans. Now, I'm just going to not bore you with all the whole blah, 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 blah. I just want to read some key points right here, and I just want you guys to just endure this for a second here, okay? Let's all educate ourselves just for a few seconds here, okay? Lockdown. The Fire Prevention Code defines lockdown as an emergency situation and other than a Group I-3 occupancy. Example, detention center, jail, pre-release center, prison, requiring that the occupants be sheltered and secured in place within the building when normal evacuation would put occupants at risk. All right? So we understand the whole process of the whole lockdown procedures. Okay, now let's just fast forward all this here. Approval. All right? Here's the key point that I want to make sure you guys know. In order to get it approved, lockdown plans shall be approved by the office of the fire marshal. To accomplish this approval, lockdown plans shall be submitted to the office of the fire marshal for review. The review is conducted to ensure the requirements of the Fire Prevention Code are addressed. Now, typically, depending on what city and state you reside in, most cases you may have to submit 3 copies of a lockdown plan along with a self-addressed return envelope, and you have to mail it to the office of the fire marshal. And then there's an hourly fee that comes in to the lockdown plan. Okay? Afterwards, the plan has to be reviewed. Then it needs to be approved to make sure that the arrangements, everything is set to go. So keeping all that in mind, folks, you could definitely look at this segment and you can go, WTF, what the hell are they doing right here? This segment just does not make any freaking sense whatsoever. And I'm looking at this, and you know, at first, I didn't even need to do this research. I just knew from a security standpoint that this was just off. But I don't know how many old school veterans we got of wrestling, but do you guys remember that movie with Morgan Freeman, Lean On Me? Remember when that scene came where he decided that he was going to lock down the school?
And the fire marshal, they had gave him a warning. They said, hey, you can't do that. This is against the law. You have to sit up and you have to get approval, and that's something that you don't have right now. And his whole argument was he wanted to keep the drugs from coming into the school, people that had no business being in the school, outside. That was his whole argument there. Now, remember how one of the parents, they had somehow found out that he was still continuing to lock the school down, and basically she had gave the fire marshal the ammo that he had needed to do a surprise inspection. And once they had saw that the school was still on lockdown, Morgan Freeman, he got arrested. Remember that movie? Well, if you don't, it was a damn good movie. But that lets you know there is a whole procedure here. So you could definitely appreciate this segment that they were trying to give you tonight. And if you missed it, I feel bad that you missed it. But for those of you that know your wrestling, you know that this just was not believable. I was just kicking back and I was laughing at this segment, and I just thought how hilarious it was when I saw this, as it wasn't believable for anything. But from there, folks, we continue on now as our fifth match of the evening. We had the X Division Championship on the line as Zema Ion put it up against Sonjay Dutt. I was a little bit surprised here that they tried to make something out of this match, really out of nothing, because let's be honest, for those of you that were paying attention to this match that was announced, you said to yourself, here's two guys that haven't been on television in a good amount of weeks, and these two are going to have a match? No backstory? What's going on here? Well, TNA, they did realize that. They tried to make a little bit of something out of nothing. So what they ended up doing here, they went back to where Zema Ion had first won the X Division title at the Destination X pay-per-view. And for those of you that had saw that pay-per-view, you guys remember how Sonjay Dutt was injured at one point in the match, but how he had came back later and he was fighting with Zema Ion on top of the X-Cage steel-like ceiling structure, and he had sprayed him in the face with that can of hairspray and then went on to become the new X Division champion. So they were able to take key moments out of that match and try to build something out of it. Nice little effort. I can appreciate that. But when it's all said and done, with regards to this match, it was definitely as what we all had envisioned. It was a match that had a lot of high spots, a lot of high-flying moves. It definitely did not disappoint. Really great contest right here. Zema Ion would go on to retain his X Division championship. From there, folks, we see a plug for the Bound for Glory pay-per-view that's going to be coming our way Sunday, October 14th. Definitely was an awesome moment right there. Moving along, we saw our sixth match, which was RVD taking on Magnus. This contest right here, I was definitely loving this, as just a little bit before these two guys had got it on, Jeremy Borash tries to provide us with an update on Jeff Hardy's condition. And he also had, trying to think off the top of my head here, he had also tried to see if he could get in a word with Jeff Hardy, I believe, but we had saw Magnus step in, and he called it exactly right. It might have been very harsh, but Magnus called it right. He said, you know, what had happened with Jeff Hardy, he was blinded. He basically did something that was not necessary. He got himself involved in a match, or not a match, but he did get himself involved in a match when you really think about it, because that's exactly what it was, between Austin Aries and the Aces and Eights member. As you're probably saying to yourself, wait a minute, Jeff Hardy's hurt? What happened here? Well, it turns out, and they would reveal this throughout the course of the night, Jeff Hardy had got severely hurt by Aces and Eights. The big guy, the guy himself that does all the talking for Aces and Eights, that's always pushing the hoodie. Well, key point, as that whole brawl was going on outside of the ring, he made his presence felt as he picked up Jeff Hardy, put him up over one shoulder and just treated Jeff Hardy like a battering ram as he just ran him shoulder first into the steel posts. So Jeff Hardy, he's now questionable as far as if he's going to be able to participate in the final Bound for Glory series match. And Magnus would capitalize on Jeff Hardy's condition, saying that he had no business being out there when he knows that the biggest match of his career is happening later tonight. He's a fool for getting involved in that, and would also say how aces and eights were inside of Jeff Hardy's head, just as he feels he's inside the head of RVD. That set up RVD and Magnus match that came up next. We saw RVD defeat Magnus. I definitely was looking at this match, and at this point I started saying to myself, who's doing the booking tonight? Because here you have Magnus that has just been going around sticking his nose in other people's business. He's been on his own somehow, been able to pick up some type of momentum. And I just kind of felt that this was definitely a match that he should have won so that he could continue to come out on the next episode of Impact Live high and mighty off of a victory and continue to go on this new path that he's been on of just butting into everybody's business. I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, okay, RVD did not need this victory. RVD is God. I don't know how old now. He's got to be, if not in his late 30s, he's got to be at least in his early 40s. If somebody in the chat room can let me know how old RVD is, I just want to make sure I'm not making him come off too old. But last I checked, he should be like at least 41, maybe 42 years old. I'd be shocked if he was still in his late 30s. But the point I'm making is we got Magnus, who is definitely a much younger guy than RVD, and he really hasn't even begun to scratch the surface of his wrestling career. Christopher, thank you for that, 41, okay? He definitely needed the victory right here. So why they just have it in like that, I don't know. Hopefully they could continue to build off of Magnus, as I don't want him to be the type of guy who will butt his nose in everybody's business, but then when it comes time for him to have a match, he loses. That's just not really the way to go. So this was definitely a match right here I was paying attention to, and I just kind of shook my head and said, I don't really get that one. Moving right along, though, folks, next up, we had the TNA Tag Team titles on the line as Jeremy Borash was once again with the TNA Tag Champions Daniels and Kazarian. And from there, folks, we had saw a pretty good promo from these guys as they were talking about how if anyone needed the cops called, it should have been for them, and talked about a number of crimes that have occurred to them as Kazarian wasn't even involved in the Bound for Glory series. Daniels will point out how the one time he was involved in this year's Bound for Glory series, all the participants had ganged up on him. They tried to twist the facts of Claire Lynch, saying that she basically manipulated them, tried to get in cahoots with them to tarnish their good name. Really fun setup right here. As from there, they went on. They had their match against Kurt Angle, AJ Styles. If you guys had listened to our Call That Match special this Saturday, y'all know I said, and I went on record, I said Daniels and Kazarian, they need this victory over AJ Styles and Kurt Angle because they got a storyline that's going on right now. They got a new storyline. They got Hulk Hogan who's pissed with them. Sting is pissed with them. They just are not on good sides with TNA upper management right now for all the crazy stuff they've been doing. And they definitely needed this victory tonight over AJ Styles and Kurt Angle. Otherwise, the loud message that would have been sent had they lost the belts tonight to that team would have been they just don't have those guys' number whenever those tag team titles are on the line. Because let's not forget, it was just a couple of months back we had saw AJ Styles, Kurt Angle. they had beat them for the belts, but then less than 2.5 weeks later on an episode of Impact Wrestling, we saw Daniels and Kazarian win the titles right back. So they definitely got some momentum that's under them right now since way back then with the whole Claire Lynch storyline and just everything that's been happening as of late. So it definitely made more sense to have them walk away with the belts. This match, I can't say it enough before I move on to the next match. This particular match right here, I love the fact that not only was it a straight-up wrestling match and we had 4 really good guys that knew how to bring it down, but what I was also pleased about with this match, folks, I'm not even exaggerating, this was the best match on the entire card. 5 out of 5 stars in my book. I think a lot of you will definitely agree with that. It kind of was a solid pay-per-view, don't get me wrong, but when it came to this match right here, it just kind of seemed like they were really starting to wake up finally. It was a very solid moment. One of my favorite tag matches I've seen of TNA this calendar year. You know it's money whenever AJ Styles, Kurt Angle, Daniels, Kazarian are all in the ring at the same time. Definitely wasn't disappointed right here. And coming up right here, folks, you know what time it is. As Mike Tenay, Taz, they recap everything that had transpired throughout the night involving Robert Roode. Aces and Eights throwing it down with Austin Aries. As Jeremy Borash, he's seen in the backstage segment talking with Bully Ray. If you were a Bully Ray fan, are a Bully Ray fan, you definitely appreciated the promo that he said right here. Another great highlight of the pay-per-view tonight, as we had saw Bully Ray sit up and talk about for the past year and a half how he's been doing everything to reshape himself, to be a better wrestler, and that he has just been on a roll the past year and a half. He talked about all of his accomplishments, being a multiple-time tag team champion, and basically like him or hate him, you have to respect him. And he would also go on to say that, hey, look at him, take a good look in his eyes. He's not just bound for glory. He's destined for greatness. Very solid freaking promo right here from Bully Ray, as perfect setup for our main event, Bound for Glory Finals contest, which saw Bully Ray taking on Jeff Hardy. Now, we see Bully Ray come down to the ring first. Jeff Hardy's music plays a few times. We get no Jeff Hardy. His music must have played at least 3 times. We get no Jeff Hardy. Hulk Hogan, he finally comes out, and he has a few words with Bully Ray. He says, look, you know what had happened with Jeff Hardy. You know the condition that he's in. You know he really cannot come out here and fight tonight. I want for you to do the right thing. I want for you to just wait 4 days, just wait until Impact Wrestling. If you really want to win it and you want to win it the right way, that's the way to do it. Don't do it here tonight on a count-out. And Bully Ray, he kind of looks to be a bit on the fence when he's hearing this. He takes the microphone from Hogan, but then he realizes that Hogan had a few more words to say. He gives the mic right back to him. And Hogan pretty much draws the line. He says, look, tonight is really going to determine your legacy. You now hold your legacy in your own hands. Do you want to go down as a villain or you want to go down as a hero? The choice is yours. Well, luckily, Bully Ray would not have to make that choice because Jeff Hardy would come on down. And this match, it was on. This was a match that just kept going back and forth between these two guys. I mean, we kept seeing Jeff Hardy bust out the twist of fate, the whisper in the wind, the swanton bomb. We saw Bully Ray bust out the Bubba Cutter. My God, we saw him do the Bubba Bomb. I mean, these guys, they just kept going back and forth with one another. And if there was ever a time that doubt would set into the mind that, man, Bully Ray, though he gave a damn good solid promo, tonight may just not be the night for him, because we saw so many near falls in this contest, especially when we know for a fact, as many times as Bully Ray loves delivering those Bubba bombs, those Bubba cutters, that's usually it. But we just kept seeing a banged-up, damaged Jeff Hardy kick out time after time after time again. You just kind of said to yourself, wait a minute here, is it even possible that the Enigma one might pull an upset? Well, critical point in the contest, we saw Jeff Hardy, he kind of had a Stone Cold Steve Austin moment. You guys that remember that WrestleMania where Stone Cold had did like 3 stunners to Scott Hall back-to-back? Well, that was pretty much what Jeff Hardy had going right here, as he did 2 Twist of Fates back-to-back, laid Bubba Ray out on his back, climbed up to the top turnbuckle, did the Swanton Bomb for, I believe, the 5th time it was. And, folks, Jeff Hardy became victorious. He won the Bound for Glory series. Jeff Hardy is the new #1 contender to face Austin Aries for the TNA World Heavyweight title at the Bound for Glory pay-per-view coming October 14th. Definitely shocked a ton of people. Quietly, the Enigma one came from out of nowhere. This was probably something that just went under the radar of a lot of people's compasses here. And definitely, when you look at it and you think about it in retrospect, you say to yourself, well, Bully Ray, he's taken on Austin Aries before. And as a matter of fact, the last 2 times that they went at it, Austin Aries had his number. Let's also go with what had went down with James Storm. As I guess maybe from TNA's perspective, maybe it's just not right to have 2 baby faces going at it at the biggest pay-per-view of them all. That kind of makes a little sense to me. I can definitely appreciate that argument. So that takes care of that. But then you kind of say to yourself, well, wait a minute here. Jeff Hardy's a baby face. Austin Aries is a babyface here. What exactly is going on here? I got to be completely honest with you guys. And me and a few other people kind of thought the same way. Whoever did the booking for tonight's No Surrender pay-per-view, they just kind of seem to not have their marbles in check, because tonight you definitely were kind of under the impression that it was going to be Bully Ray's night, and that's exactly how it should have been. You definitely kind of looked at what all had happened, and you're saying to yourself, okay, you know that Jeff Hardy, Austin Aries, they're going to have one fantastic match at the Bound for Glory pay-per-view. But what's going to happen between these 2 guys between now and then? Because honestly, you can't really have both of these guys continuing to be that face card, be that crowd favorite going into the pay-per-view. Somebody's got to have a little bit of mean streak in them going into that October 14th pay-per-view. But, hey, that's still a month plus away. We're talking about tonight. Jeff Hardy, folks, surprised, whether you like it or not, he is the Bound for Glory Series winner. Overall, definitely a very solid pay-per-view, another great pay-per-view by TNA, Dixie Carter, that just continues the streak of pay-per-views, despite having a lackluster crowd that 1 minute was there, next minute they weren't. I would have to say, scale of 1 to 10, this pay-per-view was definitely a solid. And I'm also thinking about what happened with some of the booking. I'm thinking about that silly Hulk Hogan and the police thing. I'm definitely going to have to go with a modest 8 out of 10. I think that's more than fair. I'd be leaning more towards 7.5, but I'd be willing to say 8 out of 10. That's going to do it for the TNA No Surrender recap. This is what we're going to do right now. We're going to go on ahead. We're going to take a very brief commercial break right here. And we got a ton of people that have been patiently waiting. They want to talk about the pay-per-view. Guess what? The last good chunk of the show, and there's still plenty of showtime, is dedicated to you guys. and we give you the floor. Talk as long as you want. Just bear in mind we got other callers. Talk about how you dislike the pay-per-view. Let everybody else know that was not able to check out the pay-per-view, how they liked it. So we're going to take a very brief commercial break for just less than 3 minutes, folks. And then when we come right back, I'm done talking. We're going to open up the phone line. So you're listening to the RCWR Post Show on September 9th, 2012. We'll be coming right back, folks. Do hang tight.
Tired of those wrestling websites that give you redirects, spyware, weird pop-ups? How about those misleading headlines? Instead of hitting the keyboard in frustration, why not visit InfinityOneProductions.com? Infinity One is the source for wrestling-related news and so much more without all the hassle. Visit InfinityOneProductions.com. Your keyboard will thank you.
Hey guys, Lee Sanders here with the RCWR Show, and I'd like to take this time out to tell you about one or two quick apps that I think you should check out when you get a free moment. First app I'd like to recommend to you is the app from Stitcher. Now, Stitcher allows you to be able to play all our episodes of the RCWR Show and Impact Showdown on your portable devices, such as an Android phone, Kindle Fire, iPad, you name it, it'll be able to play it. So definitely highly recommend that you check that out. It's available for free in the App Store. Stitcher, new and smart way to play radio. Also, another cool app that I'd like to recommend to you all is a new app that came out not too long ago from Apple. That's right, Apple has recently come out with a free podcast app. Now, this app is really cool, folks, because after we are done doing our shows, all you have to do is just subscribe to our episodes. And you can do this by downloading this new free podcast app. All you have to do, visit the App Store on your iPhone or iPad and just search podcast. Once the app is downloaded, you can then type in the name of our shows, the RCWR Show and Impact Showdown, and you'll be able to subscribe. It's that easy. So you have two cool free apps that you can check out and take all our episodes with you on the go. So get to it already. All right, and we're back. This is the RCWR Post Show. Hey, for you TNA wrestling fans, especially you guys that's listening to the show for the first time, if you like how we've covered the pay-per-view tonight, just know that every Thursday night at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern, immediately after Impact Wrestling Live, we do a radio show covering TNA, get you guys caught up on the latest in TNA wrestling-related news. It's called Impact Showdown Radio. You can listen to it on blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR Show. Same way we do it here. That's how we do it on Thursday nights. For you WWE fans or you WWE and TNA fans, we also have our Tuesday night edition of the RCWR Show where we cover the latest in WWE, WWE-related news, the works. So two great shows you could check out. So you got Tuesday nights dedicated to WWE at 11 p.m. Eastern, and then you have TNA being covered on Impact Showdown Radio at 10 p.m. Eastern. So really cool, great shows that you guys can check out. We also do a Call That Match special just days before the WWE TNA respected pay-per-view. You can catch that at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturdays. Really cool stuff right there. And in between all that, still at the same time on Saturdays, we also do a weekend recap, get you guys caught up on what all you missed in wrestling, also talk about what's been happening in music, the works. Some really cool stuff right there, so definitely check it out. You won't be disappointed. We love the fan interaction. And on that note,
let's open up the phone lines right now. I want to hear from you guys. We got plenty of show time left. Kick back, smile, and dial. Call us right now at area code 646-478-3525. Once again, that's 646-478-3525. Listen to the prompts to hear yourself come onto the air. Now, we got a ton of people that are calling into the show. I don't know if you guys are just listening, but if you didn't press that option to go live on the air, guess what? I'm still going to put you on the spot, baby, because I want to know what you thought of the pay-per-view. So for all of you that are just calling in to listen to the show, be warned. I'm going to be going down the list. I'm going to call you by your area code. Don't be shy. I want to know what you think of the pay-per-view. So on that note, let's go on ahead. Let's go to the 704 area code. For those of you, I'm going to announce you by your area code. I'm going to put you on the spot. Let me know your first name, where you're calling from, pretty please. So caller from the 704 area code. You're live on the air, my friend.
Hey, what's happening, Lee? This is Phil from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hey, Phil, what's up, bro?
Not a whole lot, man. Thought this was another pretty good TNA pay-per-view. It started off with a couple of good Bound for Glory series matches. I thought the ref bumps in the Bully Ray match were pretty cool. I got to say, though, the first half of the show, I thought that Sonjay stole the show. That kid can certainly work. I mean, he was in there with Zema. I think Zema was letting him get more of his stuff in. I think I guess we know Zema more than we know the other guy. I think I've only seen Sonjay maybe twice, but for the first half of the show, he showed me a couple of things that I've never seen before. Mm-hmm. And I've been watching wrestling for a while. He hit a couple of Hurricane Ranas like out of nowhere, and one he even did like almost like a back somersault off the apron to a Hurricane Rana on the outside. So I got a lot of respect for that guy just after seeing him twice. Mm. And then, of course, the tag match with Kurt Angle and AJ versus Daniels and Kaz. I knew that was going to be good. Mm. And when I was watching that match, I was thinking to myself, if I was going to call in and say anything, what would I say? And I got to put this guy, Chris Daniels, over because I've been watching TNA for about 2 years. Mm. And I really don't know the backstory between him and AJ Styles, but this guy has improved and impressed the hell out of me. He has carried this Claire Angle, AJ Styles, the tag team with he and Kaz, his martinis, his promo. He had a great promo tonight. You don't think about it because he's the heel and AJ is supposed to be the one that's getting the spotlight. But Chris Daniels has carried this whole AJ, basically, Claire, Kaz, friendship, triangle, whatever, Dixie, triangle, or dodecahedron, whatever the hell it might be. But I'll take it back to ninth grade geometry for you, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was hoping that Bully Ray would go over tonight. I still kind of think that Bully Ray might be behind Aces and Eights. But, if he's not, that's okay. But I was hoping the guy, I was in the chat room, and I did say in the chat room, I don't think Jeff Hardy's going to make it to Bound for Glory. And like you were saying a minute ago, having your two top faces go at it, this ain't WrestleMania 6. I mean, we this is a little different era, and I don't know if they're quite ready to put it back on Jeff Hardy again.
So do you think? Let's just entertain a thought for a minute before I let you go here. Do you think it's possible that Jeff could make it to Bound for Glory, but Austin retains, or are you just really leaning more towards he's just not gonna make it to the pay-per-view?
I like that he went over tonight. I like that they send the people home happy, and I've called into different shows in your show before, and it's just so difficult when you have a crowd of 200 people that are in a studio to really get the kind of reaction that you want your pay-per-view or even your live television to have, because there's 200 people in there. You know, the wrestling business, I've made this point before, is it's the circus, quote unquote. It's a road business. It's always been this way. It's going from town to town, drawing people, going out afterwards. It's a special event, and you don't get that crowd at a TV studio that you get at a quote unquote special event. But having said that, Jeff Hardy, I like that they sent the people home happy. I like that he went over tonight, kind of, but I'm thinking that shoulder might come into play in the next week or so, and you know, they may have to bring in the guy that was second place in the Bound for Glory series to be in the main event in Arizona.
That's a very valid point. Philip, thank you. You know, we appreciate you calling to the show, man. That's a very valid point. Very valid point. I definitely can't dispute that. Could Jeff Hardy make it to the Bound for Glory pay-per-view? Definitely a very valid point. And, you know, it is something, just to touch up on what you said earlier before we go to the next caller, and the next caller will be 912 from the area code 912. Get ready. I'm going to put you on the spot. Buy you some time so you can think about what you want to say or question. But, you know, I'm looking at Christopher Daniels, and you are just so right. You know, when you really think about it, Daniels has just been doing so much, just really alone. He just rolled the hell off of that Claire Lynch storyline. He made the best of it, and he just really ran with it. If anybody really benefited tremendously from that poor storyline with that poor acting, it definitely was Daniels. Kazarian, he's kind of, but no, really, when you think about it, you think about all the people that were involved, Daniels really capitalized the hell off of that storyline, and he definitely is a bit underrated when you really think about it. Could a time maybe come where he could possibly become a TNA World Heavyweight Champion? That's a whole nother debate for another time. Let's go on ahead now. Caller from the 912 area code. I want to put you on the spot, my friend. See if you had checked out the pay-per-view tonight. You're live on the air. Oh, caller 912 was shy. 912, you there? Caller from 912. You on the air, man. Say something. See, we got some callers. They're just shy. They just want to listen. All right. Let's try caller from the 510 area code. You live on the air, my friend. Caller from 510. Well, we hear caller from 510. That's another one that's shy. We got some people that's shy tonight. I don't get that. All right, let's go with caller from the 210 area code. Now, he actually sat up. He wants to go live on air. There's somebody that's not scared. I don't know why some of you guys are scared. Now, see, I bet you if I had Miss Tessmacher on the show or I had Trish Stratus or Lita, I bet you guys would be pressing one then to go on the air, and you'd be sounding like Beavis and Butthead. Come to Butthead. All right, caller from 210, you're live on the air.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, bro? What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Homie the Clown from San Antonio, Texas.
Homie, what's up, bro?
Good evening. I thought the pay-per-view was pretty good. Didn't really feel the ending of it. But that guy did make a good point about Jeff Hardy maybe not making it to the pay-per-view. Because if you think about it, if Bully Ray is part of the Aces and Eights, he can maybe have Jeff Hardy taken out like he almost did tonight. So that was a pretty good valid point. And the tag team match was excellent.
Yeah, that tag team match, I mean, there's not enough that could be said about that tag team match. That was just really one of maybe two greatest highlights of the night. I mean, those guys, they really put it all out there.
Oh, I agree. The only thing that was corny and kind of lame with the pay-per-view was, like you said, the whole lockdown situation, nobody getting in, getting out, but the cops show up and, you know, they're outside the whole time. If Aces and Eights, you know, they're going to attack, they're going to be inside. They can't get out of the arena because it's locked down. That's what I just didn't understand that whole part of the segment, and then having the cops come out during the match, which led to nothing. It was just a bunch of nothing. That to me.
Yeah. Stuff that was just really unnecessary. I mean, really, the way that really should have went down. I understand what they were trying to execute. I applaud them for it, but they didn't really put that much thought process into it. What should have went down was Hulk Hogan, he should have rallied up all the TNA officials, and he should have said, look, I want this place on lockdown. Everybody, you all be at every single exit. I don't want nobody coming in or out. Do not lock those doors down because that's a fire code violation. Just be at the doors. Make sure you know who's coming in, who's coming out. And, that would have been better. The whole cops and it was just, come on, man.
Exactly. Good question for you. Do you think the Aries match was a little bit early in the show?
I was thinking about that, and thank you for that call. We appreciate it. Homie always interacts with us on Twitter. Homie usually has a thing or two to say in the chat room, but Homie he makes his points, very damn valid points on Twitter, and we love Homie. Homie always says some really good, insightful stuff. If you all haven't gotten a chance to follow him, I highly recommend that you do so. Follow him and pull up his Twitter handle right now. He's actually a really cool guy to know. Homie the Clown 24. Last two numbers at the end, 24. Homie D-A, Clown 24. Always has some really cool stuff to say. I definitely was looking at it, and I'm thinking back to how I had predicted everything was going to play out on tonight's pay-per-view, back to that Call That Match special. And like I said on there, the way that they should have did Austin Aries and Aces and Eights, they should have did like a Austin Aries, Aces and Eights type of build throughout the whole night. So, yes, I definitely feel that they came out a little bit too early, but at the same time, one could also argue that, well, if you would have had Austin Aries and Aces and Eights in the show, that would have gave our show a ton of ammo, as well as other shows a ton of ammo, and say, okay, TNA, they keep ending Impact Wrestling with those damn Aces and Eights, and now they're ending it with the pay-per-view. Can they try to come up with some type of originality here? That argument would then be made. So although they did it a bit too early, I can appreciate them doing it at the point that they did, where really the emphasis definitely needed to be on who was going to win that Bound for Glory series. Very good question, homie. Thank you for asking that. Always a pleasure of interacting with him. Has a lot of very good, valid points. All right, let's go now to Dave from the Michigan area. Dave, you're live on the air, my friend.
Hello?
Yeah, Dave, you live.
All right, hey, how was your break?
It was good, man. It was good. I kicked back and
it's been a while.
Yeah, I just was recharging my batteries, and it's good to be back. I see, good time to be back. Got a lot of great stuff happening right now in wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, tonight was a pretty good show. I was in between football and the pay-per-view. I want to check out Manning's comeback.
How'd that go?
They beat Pittsburgh. He looked great out there. Like, you never missed a step.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, they beat Pittsburgh. I mean, pretty good. It was a good game, but he just, had one of those classic Manning drives,
Yeah.
Like,
and you know
bam,
what?
Run.
And you know what? Before you talk about tonight's pay-per-view, I just want to send a message because I can't help but not talk about football because it is week 1.
Yeah.
But one thing, and I just want to say this, and this message goes out to everybody that follows football. There's this guy, I'll maybe have his name later, I don't know when, but there's this guy who is a sports writer, and he had posted this article talking about, Peyton Manning, he's not living up to the hype, he's not living up to the money, he's not living up to the expectations, wah, 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 wah. And I'm sitting up and I'm saying to myself, and this was the messed up part, this was a brother. So I really took offense to this because most brothers that I know of that follow football, they definitely wait a few weeks to sit up and say, okay, well, you know what, this is how I feel about this guy. Point I'm making is week 1 wasn't even in the books, and this guy was already bashing Peyton Manning, and I'm saying to myself, and this message definitely goes out to you guys that like reading a little fantasy football and what football reporters have to say. Don't always be hanging off of what they say, because what they say, their word is not bond. It is just their opinion, and unfortunately, guess what? They're paid to give that opinion. So, you definitely want to try to go with some folks that's a little bit unbiased. What I would recommend you do, check out Jay Glazer. He does some stuff on Fox Sports. He's a good, honest, legit guy. Definitely recommend you check out the NFL Today Show on Fox, the NFL Today Show on CBS. I mean, James Brown, it don't get no sincerer than James Brown on there. Really good guy. I trust a lot of the things that they say. I don't really trust somebody sitting up judging an athlete's talents, and they haven't even played a week 1 game yet. I just think that's a little bit silly. But I don't mean to get on that rant, but I just thought I'd mention that. So, Dave, tell us, how'd you like the pay-per-view tonight?
One more quick thing, Lee. For a washed-up quarterback, he had 253 yards and 2 touchdown passes, so pretty good for a washed-up quarterback.
And which one was that?
That's Peyton.
Peyton? That's pretty. That sounds like he hasn't missed a step.
Yeah, I know. It is money, but yeah, I was about to call about the Sonjay Dutt thing, which after hearing it only 2 years, you should go back a few years, check out some Jay Lethal and Sonjay Dutt stuff. And that was some good matches right there.
Yeah, definitely. I was a little bit surprised he did that. Yeah.
Yeah, if he's only seen it the last few times, couple of years, it's like, man, you go back to a lot of TNA stars. Go check out Petey Williams too. I mean, there's a lot of old X Division guys out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I feel like maybe I'm different than a lot of the wrestling fans who call into the show or not, because after the first match tonight, I was like, okay, they want Jeff Hardy and Austin Aries. Because you look at Bully Ray, I mean, just looking at Bully Ray and looking at Austin Aries, there isn't really a name. Bully Ray's a big name, but he's not Jeff Hardy. Mm-hmm. No one in the tournament is Jeff Hardy. I mean, the brand, basically, Jeff Hardy's a big brand. And he's going to get if Austin Aries beats him, which I don't think he will, but it's possible, that would be huge for his career. Mm-hmm. I could see more or less of a resurrection of Jeff Hardy's career, having him win it back at Bound for Glory. When at Victory Road, was it last year at Victory Road, or 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. We had that big drug thing happen. And that would just be huge, I think, for for him to have something like that happen again. I mean, just to become world champion after going through everything he went through. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, that tag match. Yeah. But go ahead and see what you had to say about that anyway.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I was just wondering what you think about what I just said about Jeff Hardy. Well, I mean, I agree with everybody because I think Jeff Hardy will possibly win the title and have this big resurrection thing.
It's a really nice story. It's a definite bookend, no doubt about that. But see, here's the thing. I bet you for every single 20 wrestling fans that you line up and you say to them, hey, you remember that guy Jeff Hardy? And they go, oh, yeah, Hardy Boys. Yeah, well, what happened to him? I bet you for every 20 people you ask that question to, maybe only 7, if you're lucky, 10 people will sit up and say, oh, yeah, he's been doing his thing down in TNA for the past couple of years. Unfortunately, and it goes back to something that we discussed time and time again on Impact Showdown Radio, which is the way they market their wrestlers, the way that they do their advertising. I mean, you have Jeff Hardy, who was on top of the world in the WWE, and he left out on such a high note, and he came into TNA, and I got to be brutally honest here, whether Jeff Hardy had ended up having his little spiral or not, just the way that TNA management had dealt with him, even after learning about his demons, I mean, he just was not utilized properly. Now we fast forward. Jeff Hardy is a couple of years older. Okay? Yes, I pat him. I pat Matt Hardy on the back. They have done a hell of a job trying to turn their lives around. I applaud them. But, right now, I don't think now's the time for Jeff Hardy to get that back. Could maybe his time come next year? I can see that. But right now, I am looking at guys such as James Storm. I'm looking at guys such as Bully Ray. I'm looking at guys such as Robert Roode that is lingering in the corner. I want to see definitely before Jeff Hardy becomes TNA World Heavyweight Champion, I need to see what James Storm can do. I've said it time and time again, that man has never had his opportunity to hold that belt for a long period of time. So I definitely want to see what he can do when given the opportunity. With regards to Bully Ray, as we all know, he signed that contract extension. I have nothing but big visions for Bully Ray. If he continues to be on the road that he has been on, I see nothing but good things happening for him to the point where he will definitely, a lot sooner than most will expect, I see him becoming the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. But my point is, we need to see all those guys have their fair shot before Jeff Hardy. I like the progress he's been making, but before that belt gets put on him, I need to continue to see him go on that path of righteous, as I like to say, of being rid of all his demons. I want to see him get that true plugging that he needs, because we got all these other guys that have held on to those belts. They've been going in there. They've been digging down deep. They've been going in night out. They've been doing what they need to do. Jeff Hardy, then, like I said, whoever did the booking for this, my money would have been on Bully Ray. That's the route that it should have went. For Jeff Hardy, if you would have told me a month ago, 2 months ago, oh, Jeff Hardy's going to win the Bound for Glory series, I would say I don't see that happening. He really hasn't been doing anything in TNA. So for him to just come out of nowhere, it brings up a very good argument. Now, can he make it to Bound for Glory? I think, honestly, I don't like jumping ahead because we're talking about a pay-per-view that's like a month and a half away. But with regards to how things will possibly play out, I don't know. We got a month and a half to see some really great storyline, but if you were to ask me to judge right now, if Jeff makes it to Bound for Glory, he's going to lose to Austin Aries. Okay? Plain and simple. He's going to lose to Austin Aries. But there's also that possibility that Jeff might not make it to Bound for Glory. It should be a very interesting month plus leading into that Bound for Glory pay-per-view. Definitely on point. Let's see what you guys are talking about in the chat room before we guys go off the air tonight. Don from New York points out that Jeff Hardy is in the process of writing a new book. Philip thinks that maybe perhaps it needs to be a three-way between Bully Ray, Jeff Hardy, Austin Aries, as he feels that it would probably sell more tickets. I can definitely appreciate that argument. I like that. I can definitely picture that. But, I mean, Jeff Hardy, unfortunately, those of us that have followed his career in WWE, we can definitely agree, TNA, they've been kind of doing a poor job of really utilizing him. And it's not even Jeff Hardy's fault. It also falls on whoever they have as that champion. They just sit up, and they don't really do enough of a strong enough job to really push the hell out of him. We could even go as far back as when Robert Roode held the title for all those months. Yes, we know the rigorous schedule that Robert Roode had. We know how he kept going in episode after episode of Impact Wrestling, and then he would go on a pay-per-view, and he was just tearing it down. But he even came across the same problem now in his own way, and I think he can probably say this. He'll probably be a man and say this. He did get himself over. He did have a very significant hand in taking TNA Impact Wrestling to that next level. But that was despite the marketing that really wasn't put behind him. Can you just imagine how it would have been if they would have had the proper marketing like they have with WWE and actually utilize it right? That man probably would have been champion a lot longer if they were able to prove that he definitely is a strong, hell of a draw. You know what I'm saying? So right now, yeah, that Bound for Glory pay-per-view, I think you're onto something, Philip. A three-way, that definitely sounds more up their alley right now, makes things a lot more interesting, you know. I think that's going to do it, though. Dave, thank you for that call. And that was actually a very good question, too. I think we'll end it high on that note. I think everybody that had participated in the chat room tonight, you made this be pretty active. Even if you weren't interacting with others in the chat room, you just wanted to jump on in there while you're listening to the show. We appreciate it. Give some shout-outs out. Best Dave ever, thank you. Christopher, thank you. Don from New York, thank you. Philip, thank you as always. You, the callers, you that stayed up late, everybody that stayed up late, but definitely you that called into the show, we definitely appreciate you. Even you guys that were shy and were not talking when you were put on the air, we still love you guys just the same. All right, so let's do this again this Tuesday night. We're going to cover the latest in WWE Raw. And, folks, I just came off of a 6-day break. I was on vacation, so I came back officially this past Thursday night on Impact Showdown Radio. I'm still high off returning. So, you know, we're on a roll right now. So I was not even able to talk about what all had happened on the WWE side of the river. So you definitely want to check out what all I have to say, as we'll be having a new episode of the RCWR Show, Tuesday Night Wrestling Report, coming your way Tuesday night at 11 p.m. Eastern. Get you guys covered on the latest Fallout, WWE Raw, latest in WWE wrestling-related news. But also, one quick programming note. This Thursday on Impact Showdown Radio, special guest, the famous Justin Reno, is going to stop by. We're going to talk about everything that has been happening in his wrestling career since last he was on the air. We'll also talk about what all had went down on that Thursday night's Impact Wrestling Live. It's going to be a really great show. I will be talking to him just hours before he has his singles match with WWE legend, the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time, Honky Tonk Man. That's right. I'm going to be talking to Justin Reno just hours before he faces the Honky Tonk Man. You definitely want to check that out. That's going to be this Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern on blogtalkradio.com. You definitely want to check that out. And, yes, I'm actually going to sit up and I'm going to talk to him, brother. Thank you. Best Dave, thank you. Great show. Thank you. We appreciate the love right there. Hey, in the meantime, go check out all our episodes. They're downloadable for your listening pleasure. They're free, F-R-E-E. Put an exclamation point on that. Yeah, free. You can't beat that. Go check it out. iTunes, Zoom Marketplaces, keywords, the RCWR Show. Leave a review while you're there. Tell all your friends. Tell your family about it. We did a really great job tonight. Great post show. Love interacting with you guys. Conversation doesn't stop here. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at Infinity1Prod. Check out our wrestling entertainment website over at InfinityOneProductions.com. And, hey, that's pretty much going to do it. Oh, yeah, don't forget to also check us out on Facebook, Infinity One Productions. That's it, folks. Do hope y'all have had a great, safe weekend. Week 1 football in the books. TNA, they give us another solid pay-per-view. Thank you, TNA Wrestling, Dixie Carter. That's going to do it. We'll see you guys this Tuesday night for the RCWR Show. I'm the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders, and until we hear from you guys next time around, you all be safe and you all be kind to one another, folks. We'll see you next time. You all take care.